Somalia has expelled a senior Ethiopian diplomat. It's the latest sign of unraveling ties between the two neighbours triggered in January when Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed struck a deal to establish a port in the breakaway region of Somaliland. The row has brought Eritrea, Egypt and Mogadishu closer. So could rising tensions in the Horn of Africa plunge the region into conflict and affect global shipping? The Horn of Africa, which includes Somalia, Djibouti, Ethiopia and Eritrea, has a turbulent past. But tensions have raised fears that other countries could be drawn in. That's because of its strategic location on the Red Sea, opposite Gulf states and its abundant natural resources. Let's take a look back at what has led to this point. On January 1st, Ethiopia signed a deal with Somaliland, giving it access to the nation's Red Sea port and permission to establish a naval base in the breakaway region. In exchange, Addis Ababa has agreed to recognize Somaliland as an independent state. Somalia considers Somaliland a part of its territory. In response to the deal, Mogadishu recalled its ambassador from Addis Ababa and expelled the Ethiopian ambassador. There are Ethiopian troops who are part of the African Union peacekeeping mission to fight Al-Shabaab based in Somalia. Mogadishu is threatening to expel them if Ethiopia fails to scrap the port deal. In August, Egypt signed a security pact with Somalia and supplied it military weapons for the first time in 4 decades. Cairo also offered to send troops to a new peacekeeping mission in Somalia that could replace the 10,000 Ethiopian peacekeepers. All this added to Egypt's long-standing rivalry with Ethiopia over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam built on the Nile. In an effort to ease the simmering tensions between Somalia and Ethiopia, Turkey mediated 2 rounds of talks in July and August, with the third one postponed in September. No resolution has been reached so far. And in October, leaders of Egypt, Somalia and Eritrea, who have all strained relations with Ethiopia, met in the Eritrean capital, Asmara, and agreed to help the Somali army confront terrorism. Let's hear more from Hassan Hanenje. He's a director with the Horn International Institute for Strategic Studies. He joins me from Nairobi, Kenya. Hanenje, thank you so much for talking to us here on Africa Matters today. Is the Horn of Africa on the brink of an all-out war in your assessment?
I wouldn't characterize it as being on the brink of an all-out war, but the risk of escalation is certainly high, considering the current tensions, not just as a result of the MOU between Addis Ababa and Somaliland, but also the ongoing conflagrations in Sudan and in complete, of course, issues in South Sudan, as well as elsewhere in the region. So the risk is high, but all-out war is not imminent, but the risk is high.
So when you're saying that the risk is high, what do you mean by that exactly?
Firstly, for instance, insofar as, for instance, the MOU is concerned, today, Somalia doesn't exactly have the capacity to militarily confront Ethiopia in conventional terms. However, considering the current arrangement where you're having external players, including recently the Egyptian involvement in aiding Somalia, as well as the kind of tripartite discussions that are going on between Eritrea, Somalia, and Egypt, the post-ATMI scenario, where, for instance, Egyptian forces may be, present in Somalia, may exacerbate a situation in which you may see action from Addis Ababa, which, of course, then may attract a response from those forces that probably have built an axis within Somalia.
So, Hanenje, tensions between Eritrea, Somalia, Egypt, and Ethiopia, and it's not anything new as we speak. So, what needs to change to de-escalate and manage them?
One, there is no alternative to diplomacy. Mogadishu and Addis Ababa, they need to talk. Now, it may be a challenge for them to talk directly, in part because the tension is extremely high. And that is why it is going to be important that there is a third party. And I think in recent months, you've seen Ankara try to play that role. That is going to be central if actually a de-escalation is going to be achieved. In the absence of that, I think we may spiral out of control in the coming months and years.
But you know, these third parties, Hanenje, it's good you're talking about some of the third parties, including Turkey, that has been at the forefront in ensuring that these two countries, specifically Ethiopia and Somalia, get a lasting solution. But away from Turkey, there's some other external actors who've been accused of actually fueling the tensions that we are currently seeing in the Horn of Africa.
Yes, certainly. You have external, actors, some both from the continent as well as from outside, and this has complicated, the efforts by both regional institutions such as IGAD to bring about a solution, but also even other external, players, including the role that Ankara is trying to play. And for instance, what I just explained, the recent, engagement is, by Egypt, of course, complicates, the equation within the Horn of Africa. Now, Egypt is a friend to a number of countries in the region, and therefore, of course, they're entitled to engage which country they choose. But to the extent that such interventions, as well as the others from outside, actually Africa, seem to be complicating the security architecture in the region, I think is by and large, going to be harmful if there is no consensus with regard to who should be in this theater and who should be in Somalia in particular in the post-ATMIS environment.
So let me pick your mind on this, Hanenje. What is likely then to be the fallout in Somalia and the region?
One of the challenges is going to be that it's likely to affect the security and stability of Somalia in the post-ATMIS environment. In part because the ongoing tensions do not bode well for a collective action. Number two, the continued tensions are going to inspire and swell the ranks of extremist groups such as Al-Shabaab, who may ride the nationalistic fervor that may come or may arise from these tensions to swell their ranks as well as mobilize for resources. And so continued tensions are not good, both for the region as well as for partners for regional partnerships of countries outside the region, including the Middle East, as well as Europe and even the United States.
So, Hanenje, I would not be wrong to ask you these questions about the tensions in the Horn of Africa. Is it likely, or are they likely to affect global shipping, as some have suggested?
Yes. To the extent to which, for instance, the conflict may escalate to affect the Red Sea, which is a critical passageway, then it can affect international shipping. But also a potential return of piracy as a result of breakdown of rule and order and absence of collective action may, of course, certainly affect global shipping, kind of reminiscent of the days in the 2010s when piracy was actually running rampant, within the region, and it significantly imposed the cost of, maritime as well as navigation and business as well as the economies, in the region. So yes, there is a real danger that that's going to be affected.
Hassan Hanenje, Director with the Horn International Institute for Strategic Studies, was talking to us from Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you for talking to us here on Africa Matters.
Thanks for having me.
To northern Kenya now, where a group of women have made their country proud after winning global recognition for their efforts to green areas of Mandera County. The region is known for being arid and vulnerable to climate change, but it's slowly changing its landscape, as Isadine Haji reports.
You may not have heard of Mandera town in northeastern Kenya, but thanks to the efforts of 45-year-old Halima Mahmoud and other volunteers, it has been put on the map. The environmental map, that is, this tiny town on the border of Somalia and Ethiopia, beats massive cities such as Liverpool in the United Kingdom and Melbourne in Australia to win the Global Green City Award.
We won the award. We emerged as #1, and that's because of watering trees that we got a medal.
Our land used to be dry and the dust used to affect us. The dust is no more, the trees are grown and the land is beautiful.
The county government played a pivotal role in motivating members of the community to embrace the initiative. Learning institutions have also adopted a routine to ensure tree planting activities are enhanced, converting remote landscapes into gardens.
You find that most of our greening has taken place in institution. I think the best place to target is the institution, so they can be able to boost the number of trees being grown, and we can be able to try to negate the negative effect of the climatic change.
Once barren areas now have a green cover that has changed the face of the county. But achieving such an award-winning milestone hasn't been easy in a region affected by erratic rainfall and high temperatures.
Mandera County currently is sort of moving to indigenous species. I mean indigenous tree species and fruit trees. So that in addition to the combating climate change in terms of weather, there is also the aspect of now food security.
Now inspired by the success of their efforts on the global stage, these eco-warriors are more motivated than ever to combat the climate crisis onslaught affecting their communities, even if it means involving the younger generation. The ripple effects of global warming stoked by the climate crisis is awakening communities in a continent, even though it's one of the lowest contributors of global carbon emissions. Nonetheless, they dedicate themselves to finding solutions to the devastating effects on our communities and ecosystems. Isuddin Haji, Africa Matters, Mandera County, Kenya.
Around the world, people rely on automatic teller machines or ATMs for cash withdrawals. In Nigeria, the trend is a little different, with many turning to the point-of-sale terminals. Hilary Noruke tells us why from Africa's largest city.
It's fairly common for ATMs to run out of money in the middle of the day in Nigeria. There is a daily withdrawal limit of $33 or less, imposed by banks in line with the government's cashless policy. And people prefer using cash, so they head to point of sale or POS agents. Lara Ishola is one of them. She started agency banking as a means of survival 3 years ago.
Lack of job. There's no job in Nigeria. I'm a graduate, but looking for a job got me exhausted. So in order to make ends meet and feed my family, I had to do this business.
She gets money from small businesses that hate the hassles of dealing with banks. Individuals who need cash use their debit cards to wire money to her fintech accounts and get cash in return, enabling her to process about $200 daily. She makes between 2 to 10% of that in profits. Agency banking has skyrocketed in the last 4 years. The Nigerian Financial Service Report shows that there are now 1.9 million POS agents across Nigeria, and that's about 1 agent for every 80 Nigerians, compared to 1 bank branch for every 27,000 people.
If you go to the bank, no money, and you'll be wasting time.
When you need money, before you look up, you see POS about in many places and make it easy to collect money.
They don't used to put money on the bank ATM anymore. By going there, you are just wasting your time.
So if we go to the bank, we will queue and we waste our time.
Stockbroker David Idonri says the POS agency banking model is here to stay.
They collect money from depositors, to pay into their accounts. They also dispense cash to customers, and they open accounts for customers. They also assist customers for a number of banking-related services.
With their machines as numerous as the number of streets in the country, fintechs are getting a fair share of Nigeria's $470 billion online transfer market.
Small businesses have adopted the model as a way of getting their end cash into mainstream banking without going to the bank. And with more and more people adopting this new initiative, it looks like Nigerians are moving on from ATMs for their cash. Hilary Noruka, Africa Matters, Lagos.
To Somalia next, where the fight against terrorism has led the government to install thousands of CCTV cameras all over the capital, Mogadishu. But being monitored 24/7 has had a positive and negative effect on residents, as Rumesa Chodder finds out.
Along the streets of Mogadishu, buildings are dotted with a network of closed-circuit television. given the impression that every move and activity is being captured. The cameras are being viewed as a silver bullet in the fight against terrorism and crime.
Security cameras have completely stopped theft 100%. There are no thieves now. If a thief comes, he stares at the corners, and when he sees the cameras, he desperately runs away.
At the moment, they're being used as after the fact reactionary. But hopefully, if these cameras can now be used before the fact, so that incidents are not happening in the city, I think that would be positive.
For close to 2 decades, Al-Shabaab militants have been fighting to overthrow the government. And the CCTV cameras are turning out to be risky for some business owners.
Cameras were installed in Bakara Market. There were explosions targeting the security cameras and terrorists threatening locals, saying they would attack anyone and their business who installed cameras. Many security intelligence forces in plainclothes were deployed to Bakara Market and stayed there day and night to ensure safety of camera installation until locals got accustomed to the cameras.
But not everyone is happy about the surveillance.
The security cameras have many problems for us. We used to go out and sit outside during nights, chatting between ladies and boys, each boy with his girlfriend. But now there is security here and there. We are being watched from every direction. It's not only looking, but our conversations are also being heard. If you say just hello to a girl, the hello reaches all neighbours and mothers.
Security cameras are both positive and negative. They have stopped the youth from chatting in the evening. Now there are no boys and girls who stand in an alley or sit together. You cannot see this anymore because security cameras are everywhere and everyone is afraid of the camera. The cameras are controlled by the homes that install them, so youth fear.
As the government continues to pile pressure on business owners to install more cameras, some are uncomfortable about the invasion of privacy and fear the danger of being caught in the crossfire when buildings that host them are attacked. Rumeisa Chodar, Africa Matters.
Now to Ethiopia, where scrap collectors are playing a crucial role in waste management and recycling in the capital, Addis Ababa. Without this so-called corrale, the recovery of 120,000 tons of waste annually would not be possible. Ahmed reports on these unsung heroes.
Deraja Anida Makonnen and his friend are eking out a livelihood for themselves. Starting early in the morning, they comb the neighborhoods to buy any piece of waste that can be recycled, from jerry cans to electrical equipment, shoes, and any other unwanted household items. At the end of the day, they head to Mercato, one of Africa's largest open-air market called Minalash Terra, to sell what they've collected. For a kilogram of jerry cans, Deraja can make about 21 US cents, depending on the size, and for collected metals, he pockets about 30 cents.
Plastics are recycled into products like plates and jars, while metals are sent to factories, melted down and recycled into building steel. This area is called Minalash Terra because you can find everything here.
Here the waste is bought by factories and middlemen for recycling, while some items are dismantled and sold as spare parts.
It's not just computers. We take old TVs, for example. They aren't used anymore. If they left like that, they can cause environmental pollution. But if they are disassembled and sold for parts, it helps prevent pollution.
Some of the objects made in Minalash Terra are sold in Addis Ababa and to neighboring African countries.
This work, first of all, protects the community from waste, and secondly, transforms waste into a business opportunity. It also contributes to the fight against climate change, as using coal stoves help reduce deforestation by limiting the need for firewood.
According to the 2020 United Nations Development Programme statistics, Addis Ababa produces about 400,000 tons of waste annually, of which only 70% is collected by the municipality, leaving the rest to be retrieved by the Korale, who are not only providing a service to the city, they are also able to scrape a living. Afzal Ahmed, Africa Matters.
To the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where civic education campaigns about the Mpox vaccine have been rolled out to try and counter a slow uptake. Benira Furahi Buchaguzi is a community health worker who's on a personal mission to mobilize people to get the Mpox jab, as Rupert Stone has more.
The Democratic Republic of the Congo is still battling to contain the latest Mpox outbreak. In early October, the country launched its vaccination campaign to stop the spread of the disease, which has been declared a global emergency by the World Health Organization. But health workers here are also fighting another battle: ignorance and scarcity of vaccines.
This vaccine is very important for my life and work. Some community health workers neglect it, but it's important because it protects us in affected community. If we all get vaccinated, no one will be infected by an infected person. We work in communities, doing mass awareness, and we are in contact with many people.
The Health Ministry says only 265,000 doses that were donated by the EU are available currently for the country of more than 100 million people. Hospitals and health workers are overstretched. New and possibly more infectious strains of the disease are being reported, according to local doctors.
You will notice that the population of Goma is not really mobilized, and they're perhaps not informed about this vaccination. However, if the population is not informed about vaccination against any disease, there's a risk that this population itself will be consumed by that disease.
The United Nations Children's Agency, UNICEF, says the DRC government is giving priority to frontline health workers who've been in contact with people with Mpox and those with compromised immunity. But displaced people living in overcrowded camps in eastern DRC are at higher risk.
I've heard about this disease before, but I've never seen anyone raising awareness about the vaccine in this camp. It's when we go to the health center for treatment that we see someone taking our temperature. And we see posters about Mpox, and there we're only told to quickly bring to the hospital anyone showing symptoms of this disease. But no one talks to us about the vaccine.
As the wait for more Mpox jabs continues, promoting the benefits of vaccination appears to be the biggest task right now. Rupert Stone, Africa Matters.
The Rumble in the Jungle is quite possibly the most legendary boxing match of all time. It's when one of the greatest boxers in history, Muhammad Ali, cemented his dominance in the sport by knocking out George Foreman. And as Grace Kuria-Kanje now tells us, people in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where the showdown was beamed across the world in 1974, still honor his legacy.
I said, last night I had a dream. When I got to Africa, I had one hell of a rumble. I had to beat Tarzan's behind first for claiming to be the king in the jungle. For this fight, I've wrestled with alligators. I've tussled with a whale. I done handcuffed lightning and put thunder in jail. You know I'm bad. I have murdered a rock. I injured a stone, and I hospitalized a brick. I'm so bad I make medicine sick. I'm so fast, man, I can run through a hurricane and don't get wet. When George Foreman meets me, he'll pay his debt. I can drown a drink of water and kill a dead tree. Wait till you see Muhammad Ali.
And the world did see Muhammad Ali 50 years ago when he regained his heavyweight title 7 years after it was taken from him for refusing to join the United States military in the Vietnam War. He defeated the fight's favorite George Foreman in the 8th round. The historic bout, which was held in Zaire, now known as the DRC, inspires many today.
When people talk about Muhammad Ali's fight, whenever I meet my colleagues, there's always the question, where are you from, Congo, Brazzaville, or Kinshasa? I say Congo, Kinshasa, and they respond, Muhammad Ali fight. You see, it's part of our legacy. We need to showcase that. We need to promote our image internationally through these fights.
A new generation of boxers is rising in Kinshasa, and they are determined to extend Ali's legacy. But not just in the boxing ring, painter Audrey Mputu has been inspired to take on a different fight: the repatriation of artifacts taken during colonial times.
Why the masks? I'm speaking about the restitution
of our cultural heritage. I'm also addressing this confrontation, this struggle in life, in our society, that we must face. It's like the life of a boxer. Every day he's in the ring and his eyes swell up, but he keeps telling himself to fight, to ultimately become a champion.
And Muhammad Ali did not only win in the ring, he won hats too, and he knew it. Grace Kuriakanja, Africa Matters.
That's our show for this week. Share your thoughts or ideas on what you'd like us to cover on YouTube or on X using the hashtag Africa Matters. Thanks for watching, and it's goodbye from me, Brenda Radido.